Okay, this is the official practice EOC test from the state of Tennessee. Now, this is the last one we had, and it was from school year 2018-19. So they haven't made one. They didn't make one last year or this year, so they just used what they had. So let's take a look at it. The first part of the test, well, let's look at this. This is your reference sheet you're going to have. Notice it does have, for the exponential growth, it's 1 plus r, and for decay, it's 1 minus r. Okay. I don't think they're going to have any compound interest in there. If they do, all it is, this is the number of months or quarters. If they have that, then you'll divide your R by that and multiply your year by that. Okay. I haven't seen that in a while. And this, they're not going to do that. Alright, they have this arithmetic sequence, which difference is when we're adding or subtracting, and then geometric sequence is when you're multiplying to get the next term. Now remember, this reference sheet is the same one that's used by Algebra 2 and geometry. So that's why I really don't think they'll do compound, probably in Algebra 2. This, no. This, no. We don't do any trig. Alright, so you really don't have a lot. So you need to remember y equals mx plus b, standard form for a quadratic. You need to remember vertex form. Let's see. For the vertex, the axis of symmetry, opposite of b over 2a, quadratic formula, b squared minus 4ac over 2a, the discriminant, which is that part, b squared minus 4ac. Point slope form, yeah. Y minus y1 equals your slope times x minus x1. You use this if you have a point and they give you a slope. Then you could drop that into this, and this, and you can put it into slope-intercept form. Standard form, you want a positive x plus or minus by equals c. So x and y on one side, b on the other. No fractions. Okay. Remember the parent graph for a quadratic is y equals x squared. Remember quadratics are to the second degree. Linear is first degree. Exponential is a times your base to the x. Alright, and remember your base is either the 1 plus or minus r. Okay. Alright, so make sure you know those. Okay. The next. Alright, this part, see where it says calculator prohibited. These are the type of questions that they will not have a calculator on. Alright, so let's look at the first one. It has absolute value bars, so this is an absolute value problem. Okay, so remember, we don't split absolute value, we're going to have two answers, and we don't split until the yard is clean. So we need to get rid of this -2 and divide by -2. So now I have m minus 2, the absolute value of m minus 2 equals 3. So now you split, and now it says which equation is equivalent to Avery's equation. So it's going to be D. Okay, they stopped here. But if we went on, if they wanted the solutions, then you would solve for M, and you would add 2, so 5, and -1 would be your solutions. But here they just wanted to know, what does it look like when the yard's clean? Okay, they're not going to use that term when the yard's clean. It's an equivalent solution. So they've kind of simplified it down. All right, on this one, it said that Grace and her brother need $400 to go to band camp. Their parents have agreed to help them earn money by paying them $25 each time they mow the yard. All right, so that's some information. And then $10 for each hour they babysit. They will do a combination of both chores to earn money. Select the equation that represents the number of lawns they mow as being M and the hours they babysit for B. Okay, so they're getting $25 an hour to mow. $25 every time they mow, and $10 for every hour they babysit. So, and you add them together to get the $400. So we're going to be 25M plus 10B. $25 per each mowing, $10 per hour, and equals their total that they need, 400. Alright, select all the tables that represent a function. Well, remember, x is not repeated in a function, because that would make it, if you had a graph, they would make a vertical line, right? So we don't want that. So this is good. This one, it's repeated every time, so no. This one's good. 0, 2, 4, 6, that's good. 1, 3, 3, they repeated it there, so no. Okay, so A, B, and E. And alright, causation. We didn't talk about causation because basically it's just common sense. Which thing causes the other? Okay, a person's age and their shoe size. Does their age determine their shoe size? No. Number of ice cream cones sold and the number of sunscreen sold, the amount of sunscreen sold. One doesn't cause the other. The temperature of a football game and the number of hot drinks sold. Yes. If it's really cold at a football game, then the number of hot drinks sold is going to go up. Okay? If it's really hot, they're not going to sell many hot drinks. So it's going to be R. Okay? So it's just, you're looking at X and Y. Which one? Remember that Y needs to be dependent on X. Okay? Alright, a function of the graph of the coordinate plane. This is a V, so this is absolute value because it's V-shaped. And it says which one represents the graphed function. Alright, so this is what we were talking about on transformations, that we said that quadratics and absolute value transformations are the same, where when you had y equals x minus 2 squared plus 3, well, it's the same thing as if it was absolute value. Okay? Inside the parentheses and inside the bars is opposite world. They represent the vertex as well. So here the vertex is -1, -2. So that means I've got to have a -2 on the outside here. So it's going to be B. Also, if it's -1 here, it's going to be +1 inside. So B is going to be your equation. Alright, says which expression is equivalent to q squared minus 16. This is the difference of squares. Alright, remember when you have perfect squares being subtracted, then you're going to have two binomials. One's going to be plus, one's going to be minus, and you put the square root of q squared, is q, and then the square root of 16 is 4, right? So it's going to be P. Number 7, 2 of Mrs. Cole's Earth Science classes have 23 students each. Box plots for recent test scores for these 2 classes are displayed. Now, we didn't have time to do any box and whisker plots, but I know that y'all did these in the 8th grade. It says which statement is true. It says the mean of the 2 sets are equal. Well, that's going to be here, this line. So this one's about 78, and this one is a little, it may be. It's either yes or it's close. Let me erase that and look at it. Let me erase these. Yeah. Yeah, this one is a little further away than that one. So I say no. It says the lower quartile, which is here, of the 2 sets are the same. Well, this one's 50 something and this one's 45, so no. It says more students in 3rd period than 5th period scored 87 or above. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. Had a fire truck going by. Alright, on this one, it looks like here you had more students above 87, which is really, really close to this 85, than 3rd. And then it says students in 3rd period, fewer students in 3rd period than 5th period scored a 70 or above. Alright, so no, you had a lot. It was inside the center quartile there. So this was outside, so this is true. That one's obviously true. The others are really, really close, but that one's obvious. Alright. Simplify the expression. So you're going to add and combine like terms. So 3x to the 4th minus plus negative 6x to the 4th gives you negative 2x to the 4th. So we've done those. I like to mark them out when I've got a lot of them. Then my next degree would be 3. Degrees your exponent, right? So I don't have any over here, so I'm just going to write it down. And then next would be square, and this is the only one I have here, so I'm just going to write it down. And then x is negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2x. And then 15 plus negative 3 is 12. Alright, the function x squared minus 3x minus 4 is graphed below. Consider if we had f of x minus 3. What would the transformation be? Okay, so you're dealing with inside the parentheses, and it's a horizontal shift, and it's negative 3, so on the outside it would be plus 3, right? Because that's opposite world inside the parentheses. So the opposite of minus 3 is plus 3, and going to the right is positive. So it would be shifted 3 units to the right. Alright, and we're going to skip the second question. Alright, so now it says calculator allowed. And y'all, Tuesday you're going to take your calculator part of the test. You'll have 35 minutes for it. And then on Wednesday, you're going to take part 2 and 3. And you can use your calculator on it. So don't even take a calculator with you on Monday. And we won't have them in the classroom. And then on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, if you're going to use your own personal calculator, and you can use it in addition to ours also, be sure you take it. Alright, number 10, we did not review mean, median, and mode, interquartile range, standard deviation, anything like that. On your calculator, on the graphing calculator, you can do the stat and then go to edit, and under L1 enter all these numbers, okay? And then you'll hit stat again and calculate and hit enter, and it's going to give you some information, and it's got some little symbols. This is the mean, okay? And then they have one that kind of looks like this. That's your standard deviation. It'll give you your Q1 and your median and your Q2. It'll give you your max and your minimum, which if you're in a box and whisker plot, this is your minimum, your max, your mean, and your median's going to be in there as well, but it's not marked. This is your Q1 and your Q2. Q3. Q2 is your median. This is your Q3. Alright, remember that range. If they want the range of the numbers, it's going to be your max minus your minimum. Okay, if they want the interquartile range, you're going to take your difference between your quartiles. Okay, so put that in the calculator, just write down all the information, and then you're going to add the number, go back and add the number 77, because it says adding a new score. And then you'll do this again and get the new information. and record it down, and then just look at the different things. So when you're looking at it and comparing, you'll see that the mean, the range, and the standard deviation, that they all changed, that they're different. When you added that 77, it affected it. Everything else stayed the same. Okay? And we'll look at that in class. Jesse sent an email to 4 people for a school project. And in her email, she requested that each person copy and send the same email to 4 additional people. If everybody continues to send an email as requested, which equation would be used to determine the number of emails? Okay, so she's starting out with 4. And which each person is going to exponentially grow. And you can think of it as how can I? If the original was 4 and it kept going up 4 each time. It didn't exponentially grow with a rate, but your total number increased by 4. So really your rate was your 0%, but you started off with 4. All right, so this would be 4 times 1 is 4, so it'd be 4 to the x. Okay, it's just however many we're multiplying each time. The number that you're multiplying is not it's not changed. It's only going up 4 each time. All right, so it's y equals 4x. And we'll do some other exponential problems where it's talking about rate and everything. This one was just kind of basic. All right, solve the inequality. First thing you do, if you've got anything in the denominators, get rid of that first by multiplying the whole thing by 4. So you've got 16x minus 28 is greater than or equal to, and when I multiply this by 4, it cancels out. So negative 12x plus 14. All right, so get your variable on one side. So you've got 28x minus 28 is greater than or equal to 14. Add 28 to both sides. 28x is greater than or equal to 3042. And divide by 28, and you're going to get simplified fraction 3 over 2. Okay, which is C. Consider the expression x squared minus 4 times x plus 3. Select all of the values of x for which that would equal 0. Alright, so these are the facts. If I was to multiply that, I would get the quadratic of that. Okay, so these are the factors of that. So my solutions, what about this one right here? You got an x squared. Isn't that a difference of square? So really you've got x plus 2, x minus 2 times x plus 3 equals 0. Alright, this was a difference of squares. Oops, sorry. This was a difference of squares. You had to simplify that out. Okay. Don't let them, that square should be a red flag saying, oops, it's not simplified. Whew. Video number 9, my voice is about gone. Alright, so these are all factors. Just set them to 0 so they're the opposite. So all of these would be solutions. So you could say this one, -3 and 2. Okay. Alright. So they gave you an equation that represents an account balance T years after the account was created. Which statement is correct? So the account balance will decrease or increase by a rate. Okay. So remember that we said this is your base, right? And it's represented by 1 plus R or 1 minus R, your rate. So 1 minus R is always going to be a decimal, right? Like 98. And this is always going to be 1 point something, like 1.04. Alright, so this is, we know it's going to be an increase, so we know these are not. Now, remember that when your rate, you have to convert it from a percent to a decimal. So we're going to put this back, this 0.04, we're going to put it back to a percent. So instead of moving to the left, you're going to move to the right. So it'd be 4%. Okay, so it's going to be D. Okay, always remember, this is the decimal, not the percent. Okay. Alright, the graph of two functions is shown on the coordinate plane. So it looks like we've got a linear and we have a quadratic. So it's asking, select all the values of x, which f of x equals, that's an equal sign, g of x. So where do they equal? So it's just like a systems, where do they equal is where they're intersecting. So what is my x value where they're intersecting? 4 and -2. Oh, that's a negative. Oops, I can't see. Let me uncover. So it's intersecting at 4, and we're intersecting at... Oh, we're not intersecting that. Down here. We're intersecting the line at -1. Okay. So let me erase all my marks again. And let's blow it up a little bit so you can be clear. Alright. Wherever your two graphs are intersecting, you're going to go down and look to see what the x value is. Okay? Here, they're intersecting here, so I'm going to go up, and that's my x value. 4 and -1. Alright. One end of a metal spring is attached to a ceiling. The other end of the spring hangs down. The table displays the length of the spring when different masses are tied to the end of the spring that hangs down. Okay, so they've got something singing out, and this spring is attached. And if you put something heavier on it, the spring is gonna stretch out more, right? This is how much longer does the spring become with each extra kilogram of mass that is tied? All right, so if nothing's tied to it, the length of the spring is this. So if you got 2 kilograms, it goes up 0.1. If you do 4 kilograms, we're going up 2 more, right? It goes up another 1/10. If I do 6, we're going up another 2. It goes up another 1/10. So for every 2, it's going up 0.1. So it's going up 0.05 for every 1. Okay? If it's going up 1/10 for 2 pounds, then it's going up a half for 1 pound. 0.05 for 1 pound. So, or 1 kilogram. So your answer is B. All right, consider the equation. Which equation has the same solutions as the given equation? All right, well, let's look at our choices here. So they want which of these equation basically is the same as that. All right, well, we know that this is vertex form. And remember when we were going over vertex form on the review, I said that you would use completing the square to change a standard form quadratic to a vertex form. All right, so we need to complete the square. So what we're going to do is x squared minus 12x, and I'm going to get rid of that c, and I'm going to subtract 49 over here. So now I need a new new c, so I take half of b, which would be 6, and square it. So I'm going to add 36 to both sides. So this is going to become, take the square root of x is x, take the sign here, minus, and take the square root of 36 is 6, and put a square. So now 22 minus 49 plus 36 is going to be, let's see, that's 9. Okay, so if I want it in vertex form, I need to bring this 9 over. So x minus 6 square minus 9. Okay. Well, they didn't put it in complete vertex, so it's going to be m. Okay. All right. Next, a rock is thrown from a cliff into a ravine. The function of the h function of t is equal to negative 16t squared plus 192t plus 2560 describes the height in feet of the rock t seconds after it is thrown. What is the height of the rock? All right. And what is the height of the rock in feet 8 seconds after it's thrown? So if they want 8 seconds after it's thrown, so we're going to try to find h. So basically what we're doing is replacing t with with 8. And that way that'll give us h, okay? So negative 16 times 8 squared plus 192 times 8 plus 2560. And when we do that, it's going to give us 3,072 feet. So the height of the rock after 8 seconds was 3,072 feet. Okay. Number 19. It's got 2 parts on it. And I don't think you're going to have any. They used to do questions that had maybe 2 to 3, 4, 5 parts to it. I don't think they're doing any of those anymore. But this still applies to stuff you need to know. John has a goal to ride his bike at least 100 miles this summer. John has ridden 12 miles thus far, so he's already ridden 12 of the 100. There are 40 days left in summer. Okay? It says write an inequality to represent the average distance, D, in miles, John must ride each day for the rest of the summer to achieve his goal. Alright? So, if he's going to cover it each day, there's 40 days left. So 40 times the distance he needs to cover needs to be the 100 miles, and he's already covered 12, so we can back that out. Take away that 12. So 40D equals 88. When they just want an equation. So you could just say, if you want to, you could say 40D plus the 12 he's already done needs to be greater than or equal to 100. Alright, so if you take what he's going to do plus what he's already done, it needs to be greater than or equal to 100. Alright, so it says determine the average number of miles he must do to do exactly. So we're going to make it an equal. So basically we had already started it up here, so we're going to divide by 40. So your distance needs to equal 2.20. So distance equals 2.2, and it was in miles. Alright, let's see, we are on number 20. I'm going to stop there. This video is kind of getting long, and we've only got 10 more to go. Okay, so I'll do a part 2 to this. Alright, stay tuned for part 2.